This is the Healthy Business Podcast, the show for ambitious business owners who want to grow and scale in a healthy way. I'm Sarah Cook, and I'll be sharing with you tips, inspiration, and proven methods from leading business experts, entrepreneurs, and health and wellness professionals to help you grow your business with more income and having more impact, but in a way that works for you. Because when you have clarity and strategy, you can achieve the results you want. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Sarah Cook, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Lucy Williamson, who I'm just so excited to be chatting to. Lucy and I have known each other for going on probably 6-7 months now, and we've been working together. And I wanted to bring her on because what she does is just incredible. And I know as a business owner, it can be a complete game changer when we're looking at our health, more specifically gut health. So Lucy, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to be delving into this subject with you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. It's really great to join you.
Oh, I'm genuinely super excited. I know a lot of people are going to get a huge amount from this because one of the things that I love to kind of talk about and really passionate about is the importance of looking after ourselves as people, as business owners, to be able to help us grow and scale in the ways that we want to. And I think it's the thing that we quite often have on our to-do list. We know we should be doing it. We know we should be eating well and all that kind of stuff. But actually, when we get busy, the reality is that those things tend to slide a little bit. So I want to kind of talk to you a little bit today around the importance of all of that. But before we delve into it, one of the questions that I always ask my guests is, what does a healthy business mean to you? And I'm going to be fascinated to hear your response on this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I gave that a little bit of thought, but actually it was quite an easy one for me. So, and of course, we've worked together as well last year, Sarah, which has really helped me. But healthy business for me is definitely one which allows me the time to do the other things in life, which keep me in a really good frame of mind to then be relaxed and feel creative, and so that my brain works the way I want it to do, so my business can thrive. So when I say the other things I like to do, I mean, I'm a nutritionist, so clearly I have an interest in food, but yeah, just taking time to do completely different things, get out and walk the dog, family time, playing around in the kitchen with recipes and cooking is real relaxation for me, and obviously just to keep myself fit and healthy. But that was a huge learning curve for me last year, was to make sure I was keeping myself in the best place mentally and yeah, fit and healthy, so that I then can give my business all I want to.
I love that. And I think it's hard, even as you and I were both into our health, we're both, you're qualified as a nutritionist as well. Your background is, and we'll touch on this a little bit more as well, but your background is in health and you totally understand all of those different elements. Yet when it comes to running a business and comes to running life, and I know you're a busy mum of 2 as well, that those kind of things we can kind of slip off or kind of, have it's not even the motivation around it, is it? Because, you love doing those things, but sometimes when we get busy, we go for the kind of the quick, easy things. And I want to pull this back. And especially at this time of year when we're starting to, talk about our goals for the year ahead and starting to, think about our businesses. The real key driver for so many people, as you say, is that motivation, that confidence, that energy. And we can't achieve our goals if we don't have any of those things. And one of the things that I know you're really passionate about is gut health. And actually, the gut is often described as our second brain, isn't it? And if we don't look after that, then that has a huge impact on ourselves and all of those things we've just been talking about. So tell me a little bit more about gut health, because I think, people might know a little bit, but talk to me a little bit more around what actually gut health means.
Yeah, totally. It's really great actually to have the opportunity to talk about it, because it is one of those buzz phrases that we hear all the time at the moment. And actually, it's my specialization as a nutritionist, and it is just vitally important. I can't stress enough how important it is. It's one of the times when, it's in the media, and actually we do really need to take note of it, because it is so important for our health. So basically, in a nutshell, what it refers to is that inside us, in our gut, we have billions of little tiny microorganisms. So mostly people think of bacteria, but they're good. These are good bacteria, and they actually produce thousands of chemicals actually that are really important for our health actually work with our biology, and they just do the things from our food that we can't do ourselves, so we really rely on them. And what this then does is it goes on to affect our whole health. So it's not just the health of our gut we're talking about with that phrase gut health. It's making sure we eat and we live in a way that really nurtures that sort of little ecosystem that's inside us, all those good bacteria, so that we can get the benefit from them for our whole health. And this is based on fabulous, robust research from the last 5 or 10 years. It's actually very, very new. It's not really yet made it through into medical training because it's such a new topic, but it literally can change. It really is life-changing for lots of people, because it is a wonderful way, looking after your gut health, to reduce inflammation in the body, to develop a really strong immune system, to protect against allergy, a lot of the things that people are struggling with today. And also, as you mentioned, Sarah, this vital connection between the gut and the brain, what we call the gut-brain axis, obviously a hugely important and of huge interest at the moment, while so many are struggling with mental well-being, and there's a real connection that we know there between our gut health and how our mood swings. Yeah, so that's the big picture.
It's just fascinating, isn't it? And I think, when we do have those energy slumps, and I've been, completely sort of sucked into it as well. I think especially, during the sort of the winter months where, the weather changes and, we're so busy, especially pre-Christmas. And then we get into the new year and there's all this pressure, I suppose, to be this new year, new you, and then that, completely changing our diet and our health routine again. And that, as I said, that can kind of put a lot of pressure on us, and that overwhelm that then leads us into, whether it's the sugar snacking or not really understanding exactly what we should be eating to help us. And we then go through this kind of, I'm just going to cut everything out.
Yeah.
And then kind of moving through and going, well, that's really hard. It's almost the taking things away from people. And I know you're much more about, let's see what we can put things into people that's actually going to help people, and not focusing on the stuff that we can't do, but actually focusing on the things that we can do. Because this isn't necessarily, for a lot of people, it's not about, big drastic changes. It's the small tweaks that can make a huge difference. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I know you have the most amazing gut health course that walks people through that. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I know that's the sort of the pillars that you cover through the course too.
Yeah, for sure. It can be so overwhelming. And this is the thing that I found with my nutrition work, that the best thing I can do is really help to bring clarity and give people confidence that they are making those right choices, because it can just be so overwhelming. With everything we read and we hear about. And you're quite right that I don't want nutrition to be about cutting things out. It's about the joy, getting the joy back in eating food and enjoying the right food. And so what can you add in? And also, just really, before I forget to say, it's not just about food. I mean, it's about, you mentioned the word stress there, and it's also about how we live and how we de-stress, because stress can have a huge effect on our gut health. And so actually the course that I have done, which is online, and everything is sort of there in one easy space for people to do in their own time. And obviously most of it is about food, and it's a very practical guide, but it also does bring in other ways to de-stress, a bit of breathing coaching and some yoga and just general lifestyle, and even just getting out in nature, we know actually helps our gut health too. So it's the whole package really, but the key, I guess the key thing as far as eating goes is eat more plants, eat as many different types of plants as you can, the biggest variety. And when we say plants, we don't just mean fruit and veg, we mean spices and herbs and nuts and seeds and cereals and pulses and grains. It's actually quite easy to do when you think of the all the different types of plants there are. But and just to get away from processed food, that is a real key message. But that can be hard for people when they're time deficient, and especially passionate business owners just trying to, I've been there myself, and I am still there, really trying to build up and do your best with your own business. It zaps your time, and as you keep mentioning, and you're quite right, to this business of having enough energy as well. And so what I'm trying to do with my course is give everybody that information in an easy go-to place, recognizing that people are so busy. And also, I mean, my background actually is an unusual one to health, in that I was a vet first, and then I, for various reasons, came into human health via nutrition. And so actually, I also have quite a connection back to how our food is produced. And I work with farmers, especially climate-friendly farmers, who are trying to find a market for their really, really healthy food. And they need to understand how nutritious their food is in order to market it. So I do some work in that way as well. But what that's helped me to do is to really understand the vital importance of actually free-range animal foods, so dairy, for example. And we're recording this in January, which is Veganuary, and I think it is just also a great opportunity to help people to understand, just take time to realize that actually these other foods are really important, really, really important in our diet. And you mentioned, Sarah, it can be problematic if you start cutting too much out. And actually, that's another thing I try and do on the course. We have sort of last session is all about truly sustainable foods, and it's quite eye-opening for a lot of people, because obviously we hear that we shouldn't eat much dairy and we shouldn't eat much beef because we're all worried about the climate. But yeah, I can I share more on that on the course.
I'm so glad that you shared some of that sort of your background history as well, because it's something that I was going to ask you to do. Because I think what makes you so different from other nutritionists is that you get things from both angles, and the importance of having a varied diet that actually is sustainable for not just the economy, but sustainable for the land. And I love that you work with so many food producers as well, that you're helping the sort of the full, for want of a better phrase, it's the full food chain, isn't it? Right. Yeah. From kind of from field to plate. And yeah. I love that about you, is that, you help individuals, but actually you work backwards and help food producers to understand how they can communicate in a good way, but also understand the real nutrition for all of their products and things as well, because it is so important. I think, the media can be really frustrating, because they get behind the trends, and they create trends as well, and people who, especially at this time of year where it is, there are so many goals focused around health, and setting new intentions for eating healthily or losing weight or whatever. And a lot of people think, well, I just need to cut out all of this and this and this, whereas actually what I love about what you do is it's the having that curiosity and having the awareness of yourself, your body, what you need to have the clarity, the energy, the motivation, all the stuff that we need as women, as business owners, but without cutting things out, without, saying, oh, I'm not going to have dairy, I'm not going to have meat, I'm not going to have all of these things. It's like, how can we actually have a varied diet, but with all of these things? Because actually, as humans, we need nutrients from so many different areas. And understanding that balance is what creates that balance in a good way in our gut as well. And I went on my own health journey last year and started getting curious, went to traditional doctors, and they were like, everything's normal, everything's fine. And I think when you have that curiosity, when you start really understanding your body, recognizing your energy levels, or even just at different times of day, you can then start asking questions, or even then working with someone like yourself that can help you sort of identify what might be going on. And I think it's really important, because then that has a knock-on effect on, your business results, the energy that you have for that, your energy as running a family or caring for others. But it's just the energy isn't the only thing here. This is about your long-term health, and that, the sustainability word that you talked about. It's not just sustainability from the environment, it's sustainability of yourself. And I think that's, that's what I love about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've picked up on so many good things there, but the beauty of gut health is that it's lasting change. So once you've got the concept and you know what it is you need to do, then it just becomes normal. It's like an everyday, it's not a diet, it's not following any particular fad. It is literally just making a few adjustments to how you like to eat, and then it, the impacts are huge. I mean, whether it is weight control or whatever your reason for doing it is, because it becomes then your normal way of choosing food and providing food. It is just that. It's a very efficient way actually of investing in your health, because you're sort of making that investment with time at the beginning and to understand it, and then it just becomes normal. And it is lovely. You mentioned the fact that I work at both ends of the spectrum, so I'm working with the people that are producing the food and understanding why the way they produce their food, which is generally either chemical free or very low use of chemicals, and how that affects the food, and therefore how that affects our gut health and ultimately our own health. So it's the full spectrum, and I love it because I have a researcher working with me, but I also do a lot of that myself. And so I'm constantly updating myself on the quality of our food. And then when I'm doing my sort of personal nutrition sessions, I can really bring that in and reassure people that this is very current, what I'm, the advice that I'm giving. And also it's that lovely mix of the sort of hard science with the very holistic approach to health, because, as I mentioned, it's not just the food, it's actually how do we de-stress in our life. And I actually, the course that you kindly mentioned that I've done for people to enjoy also brings on board podcasts from other health professionals that I work with who think the same way. So we've got a GP there who does functional medicine, where she talks about why she looks at the whole body rather than just symptoms, and then a fabulous breathing coach that we work with, and all these things together with gut health, nutrition for gut health, really, really help. And yeah, it's that broad spectrum. And actually, I don't know if I ever told you when we were working together, Sarah, last year, that the reason that I was given 2 years ago really was wonderful. I was awarded Freelance Nutritionist of the Year, and that was because of the work that I did with food producers and kind of linking it up, up the chain, as it were. So and it's great for me as well. Psychologically, I feel I'm connecting back to my farm working days as a vet. So even though my own business has really evolved, I feel it's kind of come full circle now, and I'm able to use some of the knowledge as a vet with working on dairy farms right the way through now to how that product actually really impacts our health. And so yeah, it's a good place to be.
It's so important, isn't it? One of the things that I want to do, because I know if people are listening to this and, there's a lot of talk in the media about, financial situations and economy. And I know people are kind of considering what they're spending their money on. One of the biggest myths, I suppose, that I want to bust with you right now is that eating healthily can be super expensive. And I know from the work that we've done of kind of looking around this, that actually you're so good and so passionate, because you work with, the land and the food producers, that you're so seasonal about the products that you choose and that you recommend. And this is one of the things that people often miss, is that actually you can be really cost effective eating in this way and moving through that, because it's actually seasonal. It's the stuff that's there and available in abundance. So share with me a little bit about that, because I know that was one of the key concerns when we started working together around some of your clients saying, well, it feels too expensive, or it feels more expensive to be eating in a healthy way. Surely it's a lot quicker and easier to just buy that ready meal, or to buy that, processed, whatever it looks like. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a great question, because it is, as a nutritionist, you want to make this really accessible to everybody. And so it has to be, it has to be affordable. And so first of all, certainly eating seasonal food, when we're thinking about fruit and veg, it's at its most nutrient rich, and therefore you're getting the best value from that food as far as your health goes. And I think a lot of this is about thinking, well, what do we what is it in food that we value? So I think this year there's going to be quite a switch in thinking that we need to think of the value in food being in the goodness that's in it and the nutrients that are in it that really drive our health to be the best it can be, as opposed to maybe the texture or the taste, or that it just fills us up. You know, a lot of more processed food is very rich in energy, but it's actually lacking in really valuable nutrients that help you to feel full and help you to feel healthy and drive your gut health. So that's one thing, is to look at what the actual where the actual value of the food lies. But eating seasonal is when food is seasonal. So, you know, we're just about to go into a stage in the UK where we start to lack fruit and veg, because obviously it's not really growing until later on in the spring. But when we get there, that food is then much cheaper to buy because it's plentiful, there's loads of it, and it hasn't been transported a long way, so we haven't got to cover those costs as well. But also it's about how you cook food. I mean, you know, again, it's difficult when people are time deficient, but there's so many practical things that we can do to get these really healthful foods into our everyday cooking. And I always take, for example, you know, just take a bolognese. It's a great family dish. I think you're probably the same. You know, you just want to feed your children really healthy food. So I like to spend more on the beef that I would use in that. I source it from somewhere that I know is farming it very much in line with nature, and I have to pay a little bit more for that beef. I mean, you know, whether it's organic or something similar. But then what I do is I really bulk out the dish by adding in lentils or lots of different types of veggies and other types of pulses, so it actually makes it go much further. And it's ever so easy to do. You're just literally you know, adding in more. It doesn't take any more time. So I think there's ways of being really practical about it. And another one of the really obvious ones is if you're cooking a roast, you know, you can do so many other things with that. You get your roast dinner, but you also then probably have enough left over to do a lovely risotto, or you have some stock that you can use to make some soup. And it does take time to get organized with that, but if you can just set aside some time in your week to kind of think about the week ahead. What I tend to do is I maybe have 3 or 4 meals in my head that I know I'm going to plan to cook, and the others I sort of just use whatever leftovers I have as well, and that's another great way to save money. So yeah, there's all sorts. I love giving practical tips because I really do get that everybody is busy and it's got to fit into you know, it's got to be time saving.
Oh, that totally speaks to me. My children call me the queen of leftovers
Yeah,
because they never quite know what they're going to get with with leftovers. But
yeah,
I think there's some really practical tips there as well, that, you know, if you're cooking a bolognese, it's not just about making double the quantity, it's about adding in more of the plant-based things to double the size of it. That actually gives you the bulk to then be able to either freeze it or use it later in the week or whatever, which I love. And similar with a roast, you know, it's the same amount of cooking, isn't it, as to whether you're doing it as a small one or a big one. So you might as well go for the big one, get those lovely flavors, and then you've got especially from a vegetable perspective, you've got them throughout the week that you can make into so many different things.
Yeah. And also just, it's really helpful to know that this term plant-based that we hear about all the time, what it means is the definition is actually 2/3 plants and 1/3 animal foods on your plate. It's a really helpful thing, I think, for people just to visualize. And that is, so we're eating more plants and we're eating a wide variety of plants, but we're not forgetting about that value that we get from the nutrients in things like beef and dairy, cheese, yogurt, all those lovely tasty foods. They're far easier for us to absorb and far they're a much richer source. So the plants are really important for fiber and for thousands actually of what we call micronutrients, which we specifically only get from plants, and antioxidants to really actually reduce the impact of aging is what antioxidants do. And that's the beauty of plants, and they are really important, and obviously, you know, very important for the climate too, but we mustn't forget that little extra value that comes from the animal foods as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you mentioned there is about it's a lot easier for our bodies to process things that, you know, that are simple foods. And I don't mean simple as in, you know, you're not cooking something kind of extravagant at all, but it's how the body breaks things down, that real kind of science behind it, the simplicity that our gut has to go through, that it's not processing so much stuff, that your body can then focus on the things that it needs to, which in turn, and this is part of the premise that I wrote my book, Healthy You, Wealthy Business, is that business owners are so focused on getting the results that they want to, but actually if we can put our body in its optimized state, whether that's through nutrition, whether that's our mind, and we know how much, you know, they're so intrinsic, that if our body and brain is working in the best possible way, then that has such a positive knock-on effect in how we can choose to run our businesses. The minute we start deprioritizing our health, the moment we start deprioritizing the things that we love to do, and that's different for all of us. But the moment, and one of the words you mentioned earlier was the word joy. And I love that, because there isn't a right way, there isn't a wrong way necessarily. Well, there probably are quite a lot of wrong ways to be doing things, but there isn't necessarily a right way. The right way is the best way for you. And I think that often gets missed as well, is that this is about finding the ways that feel good for you, that bring you joy, that doesn't feel hard, that just becomes a way of life that becomes natural and easy, for want of a better word as well, that then you can focus on the stuff that you're actually here to do. And, you know, whether that's running a business, that's caring for a family, all of those things outside that make up life, that's the bit that we want to focus on. And we want to make sure our bodies are working in the optimal way that you can thrive to be able to do all of these other things. And I think that's where we sort of connected really as well, as that real passion of going, well, how can we make ourselves feel good, enjoy those things, that you know, cooking a family meal doesn't have to feel hard, but adding those extra things that make it easy for us throughout the week, because we have to do it, especially, you know, us mums, it tends to be us that it falls onto, of the planning, the thinking, the cooking, the shopping, let alone all the other stuff that we're trying to do. We want to make that easy. And that's what I love about what you do.
I mean, I think I'm really lucky because I've got a chef. Some of your listeners may know her, actually, Katie from Peterlee Manor Farm, and she and I have developed recipes together, which it just gives you the skill of cooking the sort of base of a recipe. Like if you take a risotto, and then you can literally just open your fridge door and see, right, what have I got that needs using up today? Okay, I'll use that base risotto that I know I can do without even opening a recipe book, and I can add that in, and it's quick and it's easy, and you know you're doing something that's really helpful. And also just to pick up on you know, making sure that our brain is as bright and alert as it needs to be to work. And one of the things that just to quickly mention fish as well, because I haven't actually brought that into the conversation. And again, people, when you're thinking about gut health, mostly we think about plants, which is right, but it is also about feeding them that nutrient rich food and getting away from processed food. And actually, one quick tip is fish is a fantastic source of omega-3, and actually about 60% of the tissue in our brain is made from a certain type of omega-3, which is really available to us in fish. It's in plants as well, but it's really hard to get it from plants. It's really hard for our bodies to actually absorb it. But in fish, it's just there and it's plentiful. And we sort of know in the UK that none of us really eat enough fish. I think it's, you know, anyway, I could talk for hours about it. But again, we mentioned it on the course, and we've got some recipes of how to just use fish really quickly, because it's such a healthful food and a great way, again, to keep alert, to make sure our brains are functioning as well as we want them to.
Amazing. It's yeah, we could talk about it for hours, I think.
We could.
There's so much that kind of is linked into it. And
I
would really recommend you go and check out Lucy's course as well. Tell us a little bit about where you can find that course, just so if people are thinking this all sounds amazing, where do I get it?
Well, no, please take a look. It's on my website. So lwnutrition.co.uk, and the gut health course is on there, a page all about it. And so certainly go there to find out more, or if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Lucy Williamson Nutrition, on my link tree on Instagram, there's a direct link to the course. And actually, it's great timing doing this just now, Sarah, because next week I've got a lovely promotion on on it as well for a lovely discount that you can tap into as well. So yeah, and the great thing about it is I used to deliver the course live, so I was literally there as a real person doing it, but I just found it's much better for people just to kind of do it in their own time. But I want to support people through it. I think that's really, really important. So there's a way, once you're on the course, even though you're doing it in your own time, you can access me directly with any questions and keep in touch.
And this is the brilliant piece about it, is that it is accessible, it's affordable. And I think when we looked at your business and how we wanted to grow that as well, the accessibility of nutrition, the affordability of nutrition, busting those myths that it is expensive, that you need to make severe changes to your health and your lifestyle and the way that you're cooking. It's not that at all. And you make it so simple, so easy. And for me, one of the biggest things is the impact on your business, that actually, if we can position our health as the CEO of your life, as the CEO of your business, if you can get this right, your business is going to explode. And really looking at that as well. And I think it's not just about the energy and you feeling and looking healthy. It's about the clarity that you can get in your brain, the decisions that you can make quicker, losing the brain fog, having that confidence as well. It's so important to step into that authority as business owners.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this and thinking, I'm not really sure, I feel like I'm eating fairly healthily. I thought exactly the same. And I think there's always more we can do. And actually, there don't have to be huge changes. Like, one of the things for me is just, adding a spoonful of seeds into a homemade cereal or something like that. And it's just, that can make a huge difference. It's the little things, isn't it, that we're not necessarily aware of, that you don't have to completely change your diet, but can have a massive impact. I want to talk a little bit about your business as well, because I think it's really important when I'm kind of have these wonderful guest studies and have these interesting conversations, is that people take so much from that, but actually reverting that back into your business and how you've been able to grow your business with that sort of idea of motivation and confidence. And, I know we've been working together on that in the last few months as well. So yeah, I'd love to kind of hear your story from that perspective as well.
Yeah, well, I think you really helped me, Sarah, working with you. The key thing that really helped me was that I spent a lot of time reflecting on why I wanted to do what I'm doing, why I chose to move away from a very well-recognized, robust profession as a vet. I knew I had the passion and the qualification to follow this a drive that I have really to try and share nutrition knowledge, but taking the time to understand why I wanted to do that was really turned out to be really important for me, because then it gave me the confidence that yes, this has been the right decision. And once you've got that within you, once you feel that contentment, I suppose, knowing that you've the reasons why you've made those decisions, then you can take it forward with real confidence, and you find peace with it. For anyone that's maybe evolving into a different career or trying to build up a business, especially as a parent, when you've got lots of other commitments as well, and you want to make sure that you're still putting family first. So yeah, for me, it was really realizing why, and actually it turned out to be so simple for me, because when I thought about it, I realized actually the only reason I wanted to be a vet in the first place, and by the way, I wanted to be a vet when I was 11, and I never that was the end of that. That's all I ever wanted to do, was actually because I just wanted to be outside. I love animals and I still do, but that I realized wasn't my main driver. I wanted to work outside because I at a very early age didn't realize at the time, I don't think, but looking back, I realized that the power that just being out in nature, and it's just my happy place. I feel calm, I de-stress, I the problem is I go outside and I walk the dog, and all of a sudden I'm trying to switch off work and my mind starts buzzing with so many ideas, because that's where I get my inspiration. So I can't really switch off, but anyway,
having that headspace of clarity, though, isn't it, that allows that creativity, and really recognizing where that creativity comes from. We started adding more of that into your day.
That's it. And the creativity, and And as a nutritionist now, very much sort of nature-based with my approach, I just realized that it's just been a very natural progression. And I've always been really interested in human health. So I'm just really pleased that I have the opportunity to now to work within human health and help everyone to be the best they can.
What I found really fascinating about the work that we've done together and seeing how much your confidence has grown is that actually a lot of the things we did wasn't necessarily business related. A lot of it was more around the structure of your day and the shifting things. And this is where I love working with people, is that so many people are focused on the results that they're trying to get. And I knew for you, and we'd had this discussion, that actually it's the impact that you're looking to create, not just to help people, but also, you know, the wider pieces as well. And so much of that comes from how we embody that in our everyday, and making sure that you have, as you said, the creativity, the time, and you're very good in eating the right foods and you already had that in place, but actually delving back into that real emotional meaning of why you're doing this, and almost not pressing pause on things. But I mean, you've been a nutritionist for what, kind of 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we're talking about this as we're recording this, it's January. So many people start thinking, well, what do I want? How do I want to get there? And they look at the external stuff. They look at the goals that they want to do. They want to, you know, where they want their business to get to. And so many people miss this internal piece, attach the real meaning as to why they want to do it. And that's where the how bit comes from, because you give your space, as you say, the acknowledgement, the acceptance that this is who you are, this is how you want to be, this is how you want to run your day. And then we start building and growing the business that fits with that. Then you feel the fulfillment, you get the energy, and it's all so entwined. And that was the joy for me, just seeing your business exploding, because we'd looked at the other pieces. And I know so many other business coaches just don't even focus on that at all. They don't look at the person, they don't look at the personal lifestyle or their personal goals. It's all about the business results, and those can't come unless you've got the original pieces there. And that's again why I wanted to bring you on today, because actually it's that health piece as well, that there could be something going on for you as a business owner, and you're listening to this and thinking, well, I've got the motivation, I know I want to get those business results, but there's something missing. And I would really encourage you to, you know, one of the biggest areas for so many people is this health piece. It is especially the food and the nutrition side of things. Reaching out to me or reaching out to Lucy and trying to understand what that looks like. Go take a look at her course. It's fascinating and an absolute game changer. So it's just as I said, one of the reasons I wanted to get you onto the podcast is just to start getting people to be a bit more curious and start thinking, well, if I'm not getting the results that I'm wanting to, why is that? Maybe it's not just to do with strategy. Maybe it's to do with the mindset piece. Maybe it's to do, and that then, you know, works backwards into your health, what you're eating, the energy you have, the confidence you have, all of those things that play so much into what we've termed the gut health, which is, you know, is the mind, it is the body, it's all that intrinsic piece, the real health of you. And that's why, you know, you're absolute joy to work with, because you get that so much, and just really take action on these things as well. And, you know, we're recording this, and that, you know, you're actually working in a farm today, because that was your creative space. And I love that. That was one of the things that we kind of pulled out, is that actually you get your creative space from being in nature, yet you weren't spending enough time in that nature space that gave you creativity. Nice. So I love that we've gone full circle and now recording this with you working in the farm. So it's amazing.
There we go. Yeah, no, all that really rings true. And it's just so important once you feel nourished. And it's about self-love, you know, it's about giving yourself, taking a step back, just thinking, right, how can I be the best I want to be, so that I can then help others? And because you've got a business that you believe in. And certainly working with you last year, Sarah, really taught me so much about that. That was probably the most valuable bit. And you know, you just sometimes need to take a little bit of time out to get these things in place, so that then you can move forward much more efficiently and be happy. And I think once you're happy in what you're doing, you do your job much better, but you draw people in more as well, because you're energized. And it kind of just helps your business model to work when you're enjoying it. I think you become a little bit infectious, and other people are really sort of interested in working with you.
Definitely. And it, it affects everything, doesn't it? How we show up on
Mm.
social media, the content that we're writing.
Yeah.
You want to attract people, because otherwise it feels hard. You feel like you're in that hustle mode. But actually, if you're just doing the stuff that you love, you're sharing the things that make a difference, that's going to attract the right people to you. And it certainly has done. And I think it's just, as you said, sometimes it's pressing pause. It's that slowing down to speed up rather than just pushing and pushing and pushing, because that's exhausting.
Yeah. And the other thing, just very quickly, is to say in January, we're all kind of thinking about detox and, all these New Year's resolutions. And I just, our body has the most remarkable ability just to heal if we just kind of work with our natural biology. It's just phenomenal, the power of food. And that's, I guess, where I'm coming from, is to get that, your personal biology working as well as it can do for you. I think you mentioned that earlier, Sarah, that it's a very personal journey. And, we have liver and kidneys which do our detox for us, and we just need to be feeding our gut health the right way in order for our body to actually sort of deliver. So it's a great time to invest in health. Yeah.
Oh, it's been amazing chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining me on the Healthy Business Podcast. If anyone has got any questions, then please do reach out to Lucy. She's on Instagram. You've got her website, so lwnutrition.co.uk. Do reach out to her, because she's an absolute treasure trove of knowledge and experience. And as we said earlier, not just from helping individuals, but actually understanding that full customer journey, food journey, right from the start all the way through to where it ends up, and the impact that it has on our bodies as well. So Lucy, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's been just lovely to spend this time with you and to share the opportunity just to share some helpful tips, hopefully, as well.
Oh, well, to those listeners, then make sure you start getting curious. Ask yourself those questions. They are often the hardest questions to ask, but I can absolutely promise you that it's going to be a complete game changer for you and your business if you do take the time to explore your health. So that's it for today's episode. I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for listening to the Healthy Business Podcast. To get your free checklist with 1-minute hacks to accelerate your business and find out more about our community, head to my website, sarahcookmarketing.com/healthy business.